Hi, everybody. Mike Handcock here, the chairman of the Circle of Excellence Group. And today I'm going to be talking about the customer experience. And what I'm going to be talking about is really about creating a true customer experience. So let's have a look here, just loading up the slide deck, making sure it's working properly, and then we'll be into it. Just allowing a couple of last-minute people into the thing. So let's talk about customer experience. So firstly, I think it's all in the sale. So this is where you firstly set the expectations for the experience that your customer is going to have. And it comes down to three things for me. Firstly, clear steps that the customer understands for onboarding that new customer. In other words, they go, oh, I'm going to buy off this person, but what happens next? That's what they're thinking. So what are the clear steps for that onboarding? Then number two, what are the expectations that you and the customer have in the first 3 months? Let's get some of those on the table as well so that we've got a bit of direction, we've got a bit of strategy going. Now, of course, this is not in a retail sale, this is more in a sale of services. And number three is, how will that customer be serviced? So what are you going to do to actually service that customer? Do you have a standard customer service or do you have something else? So as you know, I like these talks to be interactive, and I am going to bounce you around and ask you some questions. Sam, it's great to see you here. So thanks for being on the call as well. But for the moment, I'm just going to do the talking. So one of the things that I really like in terms of customer service is what one of our strategic partners, which is Unique Speaker Bureau, actually does. And this is basically their framework. They call it Fuel, Ignite, and Accelerate. Now, they sell speakers into conferences, and fuel is what happens before that speaker gets to the conference. So they're inviting participation. There's numerous meetings between the speaker and the client. They reinforce the why of what's important here. They're trying to get excitement and curiosity from the people who are going to see that speaker. They're crafting the engagement, the first strategy, and they're shaping interactive presentations, meaning that partially the presentation is built with the client that the speaker is going to deliver. Then Ignite, that's what happens during the delivery. This is the moment of delivery. So we're looking for audience engagement here. We're looking to ignite connection and engagement in the audience, building trust and drawing out a collective wisdom from the people in the room, not just having one-way communication. Shift it from monologue to dialogue and to stimulate data-driven conversations so that we can contain data which then can be useful in the future, and tell stories and have fun. That's what happens on the day. Then what happens after the product is delivered? That's the accelerate part, and that's where the real value comes on board. That's when, USB are able to assess the impact of that speaker with that audience. It's also where they're going to be able to turn the data that they've gained from that into stories that can take that message forward. They want to find ways to extend the life and impact of the event, whether it's a training program or coaching or something that goes forward. They want to increase the return on investment and the return of experience on the experience as well for the customers. And they want to convert the wisdom that was shared on that day into impact. This, to me, is a great customer experience model. So what's going on in the mind of the customer? Well, at any one point, there are external influences and there are internal influences as well. So let's look at the external things, and this is from our customer mindset model. What are they listening to and reading? Who are they talking to at the moment? What's their daily habits or routine that's shaping the way that they are at the moment? And what exactly are they consuming? Now, often if you've got a customer who is in problem and, maybe complaining or something like that, it's often not about you. It's about who they're talking to, what they're reading and listening to, and what they're consuming. In fact, quite often you think that when there's problems, it's about what you're doing, but it's actually not. It's actually about what's going on in that customer's life at the time. But then there's the internal dialogue as well. So the daily issues that occupy their mind, from, you know, trying to get to school to pick up their children to making sure that they don't work too late. Well, you know, what do they strongly believe in? Is it communication? Is it joy? Is it fun? What is it that's really shaping their internal dialogue? What gets them going during the day? Do meetings and creativity get them going? Does spending time alone get them going? What actually helps them? And then what exactly inconveniences or worries them? In other words, keeps them up in the morning, the 3 a.m. mind. These are the types of questions that are going to allow you to more strategically get to the heart of your customer and understand your customer, and therefore be able to provide a great customer experience. So with that, before I go on, I want to throw this at any of you here. And hi, Andrea, lovely to have you on the call here today. And Karen, anybody would give me some feedback on what you think sets up a great customer experience. Who would like to share? On a recording, this is called dead air, which is really boring for listeners to listen to. So I'm sure some of you magnificent people have something to input. Andrea,
all right, Mike.
please go forward.
Awesome. The success that we've found in creating a great customer experience has actually come from us being very clear about our brand avatar. Who are we? What are we? Why are we? And why do we do what we do? So it kind of sets the foundation for how we operate as an organization, and therefore how we can support the client.
Okay. And so what do you typically learn from that? What's the top one or two things that once you've done that and you've got the core avatar and things like that, what does it teach you?
There's a couple of things. Number one, what it teaches us is that if the potential in front of us, the potential lead in front of us, does not necessarily align in from a core values perspective, then we know that we're not going to be in the right position to be able to support them. And what we find is that it's actually easier for us to have that conversation to exit them before they become a client. When they say, actually, the way you operate is how we want to operate, what it does do is it removes any barriers of uncertainty. And if anything, what it does allow us to do is to build a much stronger trust foundation between us and the new customer, because we lay it out on the line and go, this is how we operate.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks. Anybody else with any input? Karen, I can see going for a button, and then we'll go to Agnes. Go, Karen.
Okay. A very similar sort of thinking. For me, it's about building the trust is the most important thing. And in what I do, being honest with your clients, I can either help you or I can't. And from that perspective, I've built up a reputation that if you come to me and you say to me, I want to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to tell you straight out whether you can or you can't. And I'm not going to lead you down the garden path and make you think that I can achieve something for you where I can't. And I might lose that client, but I will gain others through that client or that lost client, because they will refer people, because they'll go, well, she at least was honest with me and said, yeah. So I think honesty is the most important thing.
Beautiful. So for you, great customer experience starts with building a basis of trust. I like that. That's very good. Agnes?
It might be stating the obvious, but I think it's very important to understand who the customer is and what is the need of that customer. And then I can see, okay, is it me who can help, or is it somebody else? And then I can build the trust, etc., etc. But listen very attentively to what they say and what they want, and also read between the lines and pick up what is not explicitly said.
I love that. I love what all of you have said, and everybody's correct. I wonder why it is then that as a generalization, customer experience in this year is pretty poor overall, right? I don't know about you, but do you experience wonderful customer service wherever you go to and whoever you buy from? I wouldn't think so. If you do, please tell me. So I think let's move on and let's have a look at what's coming next. Here we go. So back into our model, and our model here is really designed to show you what's going on in your customer's mind before you even start servicing them, because this will help you really understand who that customer is. So I've got 3 things here. This is the first, and my question is, what do customers really want? What is really important to a customer? Firstly, I think that they want effortless and frictionless interaction. So they want to be working with you and they just simply want to connect. And what does that mean? Yes, they want you to be fast and they want you to be efficient. Maybe there's some AI that can service them, that can take a bit of pressure off you. Maybe it can just have, frequently answered questions. That maybe that's the case. I'm not suggesting it for everybody, but they definitely want fast answering and a turnaround. Now, what does that mean? Do customers expect an answer within minutes? In some industries, they do. We know with our Airbnb that we're running at the moment that, if a potential customer sends us an inquiry and we haven't answered it within probably 20 minutes to half an hour of them sending the inquiry, we're very unlikely to get the business. However, in dealing with you guys, who are our Circle of Excellence members, we generally find that if we're able to turn it around in 24 hours or a working day, you're very, very happy. So what does your customer expect? And they certainly expect you to answer the question, not to give them a whole lot of reasons why you can't answer the question or what's going on for you. And I literally find that. I don't know if you tried to get some customer service out of a bank, but you ask them, can I do this and this and this? And they tell you all the reasons their system can't do it. I just had that experience with something that is pretty standard, I found, in most banks in the world, but my bank doesn't do it. So they're telling me all the reasons they can't do it. And I'm going, yeah, but the Bank of France does it. Absa Bank in South Africa does it. They're 2 that I've come across in the last week. Why can't you guys just make a plan? So they are looking for answers to the questions that they have. The second thing, what makes them happy, is they want to hyper-personalize without feeling creepy. Now, if you're not watching this at the moment, if you're listening to this, I have a picture of a really hyper-creepy guy in some sort of Joker-type mask here on the screen here. And how much service do you get that really does feel sort of like it's verging on more than familiar, it's verging on creepy? So you have to respect people's boundaries. You have to tailor your responses to people so it suits their value systems and who they are. You have to close the loop. And that means that if they've given you a question and you've got back to them with something, make sure that they know that they know. In other words, close it off so they're not thinking they've only answered half the question or they've forgotten about me. Don't be invasive to them. So it's not about sticking your beak in, ringing somebody at 8 o'clock at night to answer their question is not necessarily good customer service. It can be quite invasive. So I think that overall sensitivity is the key. And number 3 here is they want human connection when it's common sense. So we're in the technological world, but make sure there's a balance of technology and human in the way in which you deal with customers. None of us like the phoning somewhere where we want answers. Push 2 to speak to this, push 3 to speak to that. Now you've pushed 2 because you want to speak to a customer service representative. Our customer service representatives are all on hold. Your approximate wait time is 15 minutes. If you want this, do that. That's not helpful, right? So they want human interaction when an automation goes wrong. So they want to be able to hack the system and go, this is not working for me. I can't get what I want. I want a human. That's the problem with chatbots on people's websites. I came across one last week and it sort of asked me anything. So I asked them a question and it says, I'm here, ask me anything. I'm like, already this is too hard, right? There's no empathy in technology. And we as customers, we're looking for a degree of empathy, particularly when we've got a problem or when we're confused about something. We don't want to be made to feel stupid. We want to feel that you've got empathy for us. And we want human reassurance. Yes, Mike, that will be okay. We'll look after this. We'll handle this in the next 24 hours. That's what we want. We don't want a system telling us that. So we want a human connection when it makes common sense for us to do that. Let's have a look at the next big thing, and that is surprise and consistency. So if you want to have great customer experience, you have to add a flavor of surprise. That's the salt, and the pepper is consistency. So to me, that is the magic bullet that things is about. So with that, firstly, you want personalized, unexpected touch points. That's a bit of surprise. What it doesn't mean is what I've got in the picture here. You know, I came out of financial services, and at the end of every year, every insurance broker and financial planner basically that I knew gave their customers calendars. No one wanted a calendar, right? This is not personalized. This is not unexpected. It was fully expected and non-personalized, right? People just threw them in the bin. Some people used them, but I think, you know, out of every 100 that got printed, probably 90 ended up in the bin. So you must match your brand's tone and your brand's quality with whatever you're doing in a personalized, unexpected touch point. It's got to be super authentic. You know, if you love golf, have a golf day for your customers. If you enjoy cooking, do some cooking with your customers. You know, again, I came out of financial services. For some reason, my CEO thought that the only thing we needed to do for customers was call on them regularly and take them to the private box at the rugby. But our customers liked music, they liked cooking, they liked travel, they liked all sorts of different things. So once we started doing all sorts of different things, guess what? Our brand built from there. And whatever you do has to be memorable. And that means that it has to be interesting. One of the most memorable things I saw anybody do that was as simple as they were a fantastic caricaturist. And they would caricature a picture of their customer and give it to them on a fridge magnet. And so that person would put it on their fridge. And then when they had guests over, they would say, guests would go, wow, that's a cool caricature of you. Who did that? And they go, oh, my financial planner. Wow, he's pretty cool. Who's that? And then a conversation would start. So very interesting. It's good customer experience and it's good for raising your brand as well. People want proactive problem solving. That's one of the magic bullets in your arsenal. They want you to anticipate issues that are coming up and communicate. So for instance, we're trying to do that at the moment. We're going to migrate our Circle of Excellence members from their current environment into a new environment at some time in the next couple of months. We're trying to anticipate all the issues we can. We're trying to communicate as best we can. We're going to run focus groups on it and all sorts of things so that we can be proactive. We know that not everybody is going to read what we send out or look at what we send out. We know that. So we have to be aware of that as well. You want to offer alternatives or upgrades. That should be or, not our. You want to offer alternatives or upgrades. So if somebody's got a problem, give them an alternative. Maybe give them an upgrade. Hotels do this very well. You get in there, you're double booked or something like that, or your room's been taken. They solve the problem by trying to give you an upgrade or give you a restaurant voucher or something like that. People like that stuff. And then try and keep it as personal as you can. Wouldn't it be great if the hotel had mucked up your room and they say, well, we'd like to make this up to you. Would you prefer an upgrade, prefer a voucher for the restaurant, or prefer a voucher for the spa? That would be really personalized. Then you can go, actually, I want a voucher for the spa because I'm so stressed after, this problem's occurred. So that allows you to do those sort of things. Then number 3, it's an old one, but I cannot top it. Promise a little, but deliver a lot. Give people unexpected bonuses. Personalize where no personalization was expected, and add something extra when they're renewing whatever they're doing with you that they weren't expecting. So, for instance, when we talk to our new Circle of Excellence members about Circle of Excellence, we don't go into these Tuesday morning live calls and touch points that you have with us. We don't go into certain events that we run that you can come to that you find out about later. We don't go into the fact that you can qualify to be a guest on one of these calls at some point of time and position your own business to our audience, which happens to be not only who's on the call, but as a broader audience as well. So there's many different things that we do to try and deliver above the contract. So with that, I want to go back to our audience here, and I want to ask you, is there something that you are doing that you feel is delivery more than your customers are expecting? Tell me if you've got something. Tell me if you've got a magic bullet that you think is great for your customer experience. So again, hello, Sam. How are you?
I'm good, and you, Mike. And good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Lovely to see you.
Yes, I have a silver bullet that I think I have for my customers. And coincidentally, I just developed what I call cabin crew policy in the company. And now that you're talking about that, it kind of makes sense. What we usually do, we follow up on patients. When we see you today, let's say we refer you to a hospital, we keep on following up. Where are you now? Are you being helped? When you're in the hospital, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Are they treating you right? Up until you are discharged. That's when we discharge you as well on our onboarding kind of service. So
that's wonderful. That's fantastic. That's the exact type of thing that I'm talking about, Sam. So thank you so much for sharing that. And maybe you want to make your own notes there for everybody if you do have something that is a magic bullet that is service beyond the contract or something like that. Let me go into the third part of what I wanted to talk to you about today. So again, for the folks at home, I'm just loading up the presentation again, and let's move on. The third part is I want to talk about the art of communication, because this is where great customer experience really comes from. It comes from the art of communication. So we heard this from Agnes before, but active listening, not talking. So find out what people really want and what would not just make them customers, but what will make them ambassadors for your brand. People who are out there talking about you, even though you haven't asked them to be talking about you. That will be fantastic. That comes from listening to people. Active listening builds trust, and that opens the door for referrals, right? So if people feel that they are being listened to, and by the way, listening doesn't mean that you have to do what they say, but you have to acknowledge it. And if you're not going to do what they say, you have to tell them why you're not going to do it, or the reasons. That's really useful, but that creates lots of trust. And then active listening, you can get tipped off about potential problems really quick because you can hear what people are talking about. You can hear the message behind the message. The second thing in communication is the clarity and simplicity of communications. One communication equals one message. So if you're putting out a newsletter to people, try not to have 20 different things on there. If you're sending an emailer out that's about your new webinar or course that's coming out, don't mention your book that's also for sale, right? It's that stuff detracts. So try and keep it to one message, one communication. Remember that your audience are 5-year-olds. Meaning that nobody has enough time to work out, or brain power to work out what you're trying to do. So keep it super simple. If you can talk to it and 5-year-olds can understand it, then your art of communication is excellent. So that means in avoiding jargon and complex language. So I'll tell you a bit of jargon that a lot of people don't understand and a lot of people are using at the moment. When somebody says, oh, it's in our verticals, people go, oh, that's good. What does that even mean, right? So just think about what you're saying. Don't try and be too technological here. Try and keep it at a level that 5-year-olds will understand. And the last thing, and I mentioned it before, close the loop. Now, I know you're looking at this picture here. This is Landi's statement. Landi is the owner of Close the Loop, and I see it's even made itself into fashion now in Asia. This is a shot from a recent fashion show from one of our strategic partners in Asia, and they now have Close the Loop t-shirts as part of their brand. So that's how important they feel it is in closing the loop and making sure that the person that you're communicating with knows what you're going to do, what they're going to do, how long it's going to take, and when it's going to come to an end, and what the expected result of that is. And closing the loop is then following up to make sure that that result does happen. And lastly, empathy and emotional intelligence. This is the art of communication I'm talking about. So showing genuine care and understanding with people in every single interaction is really important. Developing a brand tone that you respond in. Imagine that you get you're talking to a brand and one day they're like, oh, Mike, it's so great to hear from you. Gee, we love our customers. And the next day is, look, we're under a lot of pressure and there's a lot of things happening, so stay in line. That's not going to install any sort of level of customer experience for me, or it's going to make me doubt my doing business with them. And then try and develop that human connection with as many of the people as you can that are your customers. If you're a service business, if you're selling business online and your customers are these mystical creatures that you never get to make, then try and do things by having live webinars, live Q&As and things like that. I know that somebody that I followed for a long time and did some study with was Michio Kaku, probably one of the leading quantum physicists on the planet. And Michio writes a lot of books and he writes a lot of articles and he has a lot of YouTubes, okay? And that's the way he tends to get his message out there. But what he also did is that he would have literally at one stage it was once a week. I think he stopped them now. He stopped them for a couple of years now, but at one point they were once a week. He would have a Q&A 1 hour with Michio and anybody could join. And it was a way of connecting with him, asking your questions, getting a feel for him, seeing how he handles other people, etc. It really was great in humanizing a person that, for most part, nobody's ever going to get to meet. So that's a way to do it to really, if you're in an online type of phase in your business. There's a couple more points I want to make, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. Here's the caveat. All of this stuff about customer experience doesn't mean that you have to become a pleaser. Do not become a pleaser. Being great customer experience is not about pleasing everybody. And if you find that you are trying to please everybody, then you haven't listened to what Andrea said earlier, which is about refining your profile of person, your avatar, so that it's clear who you're going after. And once you have that clear avatar, then you don't need to be a pleaser. You simply need to do some of the things that I've been talking about today to have an excellent customer experience. And number 2, develop a customer experience guideline. You saw one from USB that I shared with you earlier, which is Fuel, Ignite, Accelerate. Here's another one. At the bottom level, things have got to be expert, seamless, and reliable. You've got to be proactive and empathetic. And at the top, you're aiming for customer peace of mind. And in that, you should build that out so that all of the things that you're going to do or your organization is going to do from a customer experience point of view should be built into its own customer experience blueprint. If you can actually build a customer experience blueprint like USB does and like this organization here does, then I definitely think if you follow that, you're going to absolutely exceed customer experience and really create people a great experience. And that's going to lead to more people believing in you, more people trusting you, more referrals, etc., etc. Let me open it up for any questions or comments before we bring it to a natural close.
Hey, Mike. I really love that customer experience blueprint. That's brilliant, actually, to be honest. I find that in our business, in strategic marketing and development, we don't have high volume turnover of clients. So we're not after 1,000 clients, or gosh, we're not even after 100. And so what that does mean is our sales conversion process, our prospect experience to sales conversion process has to be really on point, or we will find ourselves investing a lot of time into, and excuse the honesty here, people, numbnuts, dickheads and tire kickers. Because we just can't. And so we've been working very hard in streamlining those doorways so that we can determine them a lot faster, a lot more efficiently than we have. But what I then realized, and this came from the Bali Business School, is that we hadn't been clear around our own brand avatar. Who are we as a business, and what is it we're actually attracting? So we've been committed in the last, since September, to really fine tuning, because we would rather have someone say to us at the very beginning of the process, no, you're not for me, rather than take them on this journey and then for us to go, oh my God, what are we doing, wasting our time, resources and energy on somebody who's not an ideal client? So I kind of like, what does that mean? I kind of like your CX blueprint and guidelines, because that's something that we can kind of preempt, we can put at the front of our marketing, so that people can get they can for themselves actually determine if they're on or off. So I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrea. And I think if I take USB as an example, every one of their clients, definitely every one of their A-list clients, understands their fuel, ignite, accelerate model. They understand what they're going to get before, during, and after they do business with them. And that's, I think that's fantastic. And if somebody understands that, you can still personalize it. Of course, you can personalize it for people, but it follows the basic fundamentals. Steve says in the chat here, and I missed this before, Steve, I'm sorry. I see with our WhatsApp solutions all the time, automation with fail over to human. So is that something you wanted to comment on?
Yeah, Mike, I was just saying, I'm surprised how often when it comes to dealing with clients and helping them design their customer experience journeys, how little thought they've actually given to how they're going to support the customer in trying to find out or solve whatever problem that customer has. And in our solutions, as a function of that, what we realized is that you had to create a whole lot of almost like system triggers, so that, especially in the context of messaging these days, because messaging is not like phone call, which is synchronous, it's asynchronous. So, I respond to a message, then I'm sitting on a webinar, then I finish that webinar, I answer a couple of messages, then I jump onto the next task or the next meeting or whatever the case may be. And so literally just holding the customer's hand through that journey just makes such a massive difference to the overall customer experience, and obviously that impacts on bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you bring up some really good points, and it's going to be fascinating to see what role AI plays in this in the future. And I don't think we're going to be anywhere near there yet, because it's going to be very difficult to have that human voice with it. So, a customer may get an answer through an automated system, whether it be on WhatsApp or somewhere else, but will they truly feel satisfied? And that's the big thing. I was blown away. I had to ring my bank the other day and get a document for Landi for a visa that she's applying for. And I was blown away, firstly, that I was speaking to a human. I was blown away, secondly, that they lived in the country that the bank's in. And then I was blown away, thirdly, by them saying, listen, if you're prepared to wait online, I can type this up for you now, and then I can send it to you, can check it and make sure it was okay. I was blown away. So I literally did wait 20 minutes online, which was an international call. So I spent the money on that, but I got exactly what I wanted because I had to ask her to tweak the document from her first cut, whereas I would have got not exactly what I wanted if she just had have automated that in some way. So I think this is a really good discussion. And I think what I'm taking out of this as somebody who's leading this discussion is what's resonated here with people is a combination of human and technology, a blueprint that backs that, and having the right customer in the first place. And I think if what you're taking out of this, I think they're three amazing things. So I want to thank you for being on the call today, and wish you all the best. I look forward to talking to each and every one of you in due course, and we'll see you on the next time on the Global Intelligence Update. All the best, folks. Bye.
Thanks, Mark.